The marble floor of the Valenti mansion stretches cold and endless beneath Aria Voss's knees. 3:47 in the morning. The blizzard outside throws itself against the floor-to-ceiling windows like something alive and furious, white curtains of snow swallowing the Boston skyline whole. Inside, the temperature holds steady at 72 degrees, controlled and perfect, but Aria's hands shake as she moves. She kneels beside an unconscious woman in her 70s, sprawled across an ornate Persian rug the color of wine. The woman's chest rises. Stops. Does not rise again. Your mother's heart stopped beating, Aria whispers, the words tearing out before she can stop them. I can feel it slipping away. Aria's left eye is swollen completely shut, purple and black spreading across her face like a bruise that has bloomed into something monstrous. Handprint bruises darken her pale throat, 5 fingers on one side, the thumb on the other, a map of violence written in purple and blue. Blood from a split lip has dried on her chin. She tastes copper and fear and something else, desperation, maybe. The kind that makes you move anyway. She tilts the woman's head back. Checks for breathing. Finds nothing but silence. Her nursing training overrides everything. The pain in her ribs from Douglas Hale's attack 2 hours earlier, the terror still clawing at her throat, the fact that she should not be here, in this mansion, on this floor, in this moment, none of it matters. What matters is the rhythm. 15 compressions. 2 rescue breaths. 15 more. She counts aloud, her voice steady even as her body trembles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Giovanni Valenti stands frozen 3 feet away. He is tall, powerfully built, the kind of man whose shoulders fill doorways. His dark hair is slicked back from his face, and his eyes are the color of storm clouds gathering before a downpour, gray and cold and intelligent. He wears a black silk shirt unbuttoned at the collar, showing the hard planes of his chest, and a cashmere coat draped across his shoulders that cost more than everything Aria Voss owned in the world. A scar runs from just above his left eye to his cheekbone, thin and pale, a permanent reminder of something terrible. On his left wrist, a gold watch catches the light. This man is the most powerful crime boss in New England. And he is completely helpless. Sergio and Pietro stand behind him, his most trusted lieutenants, identical in their dark suits and hard faces. Both grip weapons, but they do not move. They do not breathe. They simply watch this beaten stranger in a torn hotel uniform perform chest compressions on Giovanni Valenti's mother with steady, practiced rhythm while counting aloud like a prayer. 15, Aria gasps. She tilts the woman's head back. Breathes for her. 2 rescue breaths, gentle and precise. Come on, come on. Mrs. Valenti, please. Her own ribs scream. Each compression sends lightning through her chest. Douglas Hale had pinned her against the storage room shelf in the hotel basement 2 hours earlier, his weight crushing, his breath hot and sick against her ear. When she said no for the final time, he had driven his fist into her ribs. Once. Twice. A third time for good measure. Then his hands had gone to her throat. She does not stop compressions. 15 compressions, Aria counts. 2 breaths. 15 more. The silence in the mansion is absolute. Outside, the blizzard screams. Inside, there is only the sound of her hands hitting the older woman's chest, the desperate rhythm of life trying to restart itself, the sound of Giovanni Valenti's breathing, sharp and controlled through his nose. Aria's hands are calloused from years of double shifts at the hotel, from scrubbing floors on her hands and knees, from working as a nurse's assistant at the county hospital before budget cuts eliminated her position 3 months ago. Her nails are broken. Her skin is rough. But her hands know what they're doing. They move with precision that comes only from training and muscle memory and the kind of desperation that turns you into something more than yourself. Come on, she whispers between compressions. Please. Please come back. The older woman's body is still. Unresponsive. The seconds stretch like taffy pulled thin. Then her back arches. Her eyes flutter open. She coughs, a violent, gasping sound, and her body convulses as consciousness returns like a light switch being thrown in the darkness. She is breathing. The most powerful man in Boston drops to his knees. His cashmere coat pools around him like he is drowning in luxury and cannot care. His eyes, those storm grey eyes, lock onto Aria's face. He looks at this beaten stranger who just pulled his mother back from the edge of death, and something in his expression shifts. Cracks open. "How did you," he begins, his voice low and rough like gravel, like thunder trapped in a human throat. Aria does not answer. She is already checking the older woman's pulse, already assessing her color, already looking for signs of consciousness returning fully. The hospital training comes back like muscle memory. Check breathing. Monitor circulation. Watch for complications. She needs oxygen, Aria says. Her voice is barely a whisper, shattered like glass. And a hospital. Now. Giovanni does not move. He simply stares at this woman with her swollen eye and her bruised throat and her hands that just saved his mother's life. In 15 years, Marco has never seen him look at anyone like this. In 15 years, Sergio has never witnessed this crack in the fortress. "Who are you?" Giovanni asks. Aria does not answer. She is already moving, already checking for other injuries on his mother, already thinking 5 steps ahead to what comes next. The woman is older, perhaps in her 70s, with silver hair and fine lines around her eyes that suggest a life lived with grace. She wears an emerald silk robe that probably cost more than Aria's monthly rent. But right now, none of that matters. What matters is that she is breathing. What matters is that her heart is beating. What matters is the moment has shifted, cracked open, become something neither Giovanni Valenti nor this beaten stranger could have predicted. Outside, the blizzard continues its furious assault against the windows. Inside the Valenti mansion, in the marble east corridor where the temperature holds steady at 72 degrees, everything is about to change. But what Aria Voss did not know, what she could not possibly have imagined as she knelt there with a dead woman's life returning through her own hands, was that saving this moment, this breath, this woman would set in motion a chain of events that would destroy the people who hurt her. It would tear through their lies like a blade through silk. It would expose them to the world and watch them crumble. It would rebuild her entire existence in ways she could never have dreamed. She did not know that the security footage in this mansion had already captured something else. Something that happened hours earlier. Something that would matter far more than she understood. She only knew that she had $34 in her pocket. She only knew that she had nowhere to go. She only knew that her daughter Emma was 3 states away, being raised by Aria's mother because Aria could not afford to keep her. And she only knew that in this moment, kneeling in a mansion that smelled like old money and darkness, with a man like thunder staring at her with eyes full of something she could not name, her life had just pivoted on a moment. Before we continue, drop a like if this story is hitting you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because what happened before this moment, the chain of events that brought Aria Voss to this mansion on this night, that is the real story. Now let us go back. Let us go back to the beginning. Let us understand how a poor nurse with only $34 to her name ended up inside this fortress of marble and darkness where the most powerful man in Boston was about to learn what it meant to save someone. The story begins not in a mansion, but in a basement. Not in luxury, but in desperation. Not with a life being saved, but with one being stolen piece by piece, moment by moment, dollar by dollar. 36 hours before Aria Voss collapsed on that marble floor. Before the blizzard. Before she ever entered this world of Giovanni Valenti. Before everything changed. That is where our story truly begins. 36 hours before Aria Voss collapsed on that marble floor. Before the blizzard tore through the streets like a blade wrapped in ice. Before she ever entered the world of Giovanni Valenti. This is where the real story begins. Not in a mansion, but in a basement. Not in luxury, but in the kind of desperation that hollows you from the inside out. Tuesday morning. 4:15 in the morning. The employee locker room of the Grand Harbor Hotel smelled like mold and cleaning chemicals and the ghost of 1,000 tired people. Aria Voss stood in front of her locker, still wearing yesterday's makeup smudged under one eye, her housekeeping uniform hanging on her thin frame like borrowed skin. Black pants. White shirt. Black vest with a name tag that read Baria in faded letters. She pulled out her wallet. Her hand shook slightly as she opened it. $34. 3 crumpled 10s and 4 1s. Everything she had left in the world until Friday's paycheck, which would be $287 before taxes, before the 20% that went directly to the custody lawyer. Before the rent that was already 17 days late. She opened her locker wider. Tucked inside, resting on the metal shelf between a spare uniform and a half-empty container of pain reliever, sat a small memory box made of cardboard. Inside that box lay a pair of baby shoes. Pink with white laces. Size 0 to 6 months. The hospital identification tag still attached to one lace, with Emma's name written in careful blue ink. Emma. 7 years old now. 3 states away. Being raised by Aria's mother because Aria could not keep her. Could not afford to keep her. Aria touched the shoes without removing them. This was a ritual. Every morning before work, she opened that box and let herself remember what she was fighting for. She remembered Emma's voice on the phone last Sunday, small and uncertain, "Mommy, when are you coming home?" And Aria had lied, like she lied every time. "Soon, baby. Very soon." Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. 17 missed calls from the custody lawyer's office. 17. The voicemails were all the same. "Ms. Voss, we need to discuss the final settlement. You owe $125,000 in 2 weeks or the court will award full custody to Mr. and Mrs. Ashford. Call us immediately." 2 weeks. $125,000. A number so impossibly large it barely registered as real anymore. It had stopped being money and become something more like a death sentence. Like a curse carved into her bones. She closed the locker. She straightened her vest. She looked at herself in the scratched mirror taped to the inside of the door. 28 years old but looking decades older. Dark hair pulled back so tight it stretched the tired skin around her temples. Brown eyes that had forgotten how to hold any light. A bruise blooming on her left cheekbone from when she'd walked into a door last week. That was what she told people. She'd walked into a door. The hotel was already stirring to life. Tuesday mornings moved slower than Friday nights, but the work was relentless in a different way. By 4:45, Aria was pushing her cleaning cart down the third-floor hallway, the wheels squeaking with every step. The carpet was this industrial beige color that never looked clean even after vacuuming. The walls were papered with a pattern of subtle gold and cream stripes that might have looked elegant once. Room 317 was occupied. She knocked. No answer. She used her keycard to enter. The guest had left in a hurry. Clothes draped over the chair. A half-eaten room service tray on the desk. Aria moved through the room with the kind of efficiency that came from doing this 800 times. Strip the bed. Wipe the surfaces. Clean the bathroom. The work was simple and pointless and endless. By the time she finished, another guest would dirty another room, and she would clean it, and the cycle would repeat until her shift ended at 2 in the afternoon. She was halfway through wiping down the bathroom counter when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Measured. Deliberate. Moving toward the room. The voice came from the doorway. Male. Low. With a tone underneath it like a warning. "Aria. I need to talk to you." She turned. Douglas Hale stood in the doorway between the bathroom and the main room. The hotel's operations manager. 42 years old, though he dyed his hair to look younger. Slicked back from his forehead in a style that had gone out of fashion a decade ago. He wore his suit jacket even at this early hour, tailored at the waist, expensive. A gold watch on his wrist that probably cost more than a month of Aria's salary. His smile was the kind that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Hale, I'm still cleaning. I need to finish my rounds," Aria said. Her voice came out steady. She'd learned how to do this. How to sound normal when her heart was already hammering in her throat. "This won't take long." He stepped into the room, and the door swung closed behind him. Not locked. Just closed. "The schedule says I have 12 rooms to finish before noon," she said. She held the cleaning cloth in front of her like a shield. "I really need to keep moving." "You've been avoiding me." He took a step closer. His cologne was too strong. Some expensive fragrance mixed with the smell of coffee and something underneath that. "For 3 months, I've been very patient with you. Very generous with your schedule, considering how much trouble you've caused." "I don't know what you mean." But she did. She knew exactly what he meant. He'd been giving her extra shifts, letting her take time off for the custody meetings, adjusting her hours when she asked. All of it came with this weight underneath. An unspoken understanding that the generosity had a price. "The custody situation," he said. He moved closer, closing the space between them. "Expensive, isn't it? Lawyer fees. Child support. All of it must be crushing you." How did he know the details? She'd never told him. She'd been careful. But the hotel was not a place where secrets lasted long. "I'm managing," she said. "Are you?" His hand moved toward her wrist. Not grabbing. Just the gesture of it. "Because I could help you manage. I could make a call. One phone call to someone I know. Your problems could disappear very easily." She pulled her arm back. "That's not necessary." His expression shifted. The smile stayed fixed on his face, but something underneath changed. Something colder. "I could also make your problems much worse, Aria. One phone call in the other direction. To the judge. About your fitness as a mother. About the situations I've observed. The mental instability. The financial irresponsibility. I need to finish my rooms," she said. Her voice had dropped to barely a whisper. "You'll regret this," he said. Not as a threat delivered with anger. Just as a statement of fact. Like he was telling her what time it was. Then he turned and left the room, the door swinging open and closing with a soft click. Aria's hand shook so badly she had to set down the cleaning cloth. She sat on the edge of the bathtub. Her breathing came in small, shallow pools. She did not cry. Her tears had dried up somewhere on a Greyhound bus 2 years ago when she realized she couldn't afford the apartment anymore and had to move back with her mother. She did not scream. She did not pray. She never prayed. She just sat there. The clock on her phone read 5:12. 11 hours and 48 minutes until her shift ended. By 2:47 in the afternoon, Aria was walking toward the employee exit, her cleaning cart tucked back into the supply closet, her shift officially finished. Her feet ached. Her lower back throbbed with the kind of pain that never fully left anymore, just receded and then returned. She had a 6-hour break before the evening shift started at 9. Usually, she spent this time on a bench in the public library, where it was warm and no one charged her for a seat. She could read. Or sometimes she just sat there with her eyes closed, pretending she was not a woman with $34 to her name and a custody deadline that approached like a guillotine blade. She passed the administrative offices on the first floor. The voices stopped her. Coming from behind the half-closed door of the general manager's office. Diana Whitfield and Douglas Hale. Speaking in the tone people use when they don't want to be overheard. Aria did not mean to eavesdrop. She was simply walking past. But the voice through the door was small and cold, and words cut through the gap between the frame and the hinges like splinters. "The problem employee," Diana was saying. "We need to make an example. Send a message to anyone else who gets out of line." "She knows," Hale said. "About the tip skimming. The unreported income. She went to HR. HR came to me asking questions. Aria's blood stopped moving in her veins. The tip skimming. 3 months ago, Aria had noticed the discrepancies. Guests leaving $20 tips that never appeared on the staff share. $40 tips disappearing. She'd reported it to the HR department because it felt like the right thing to do. Because the housekeeping staff depended on those tips. Because some of those women were older than her, working double shifts to keep their families afloat. She's a liability, Diana said. Her voice carried the tone of someone discussing how to dispose of something. Once we move on her, we move on the others. But she goes first. She goes hard. Make sure she never works in hospitality in this city again. The voices became murmurs. Aria moved, her feet carrying her forward without her full permission. She kept walking. The employee exit loomed ahead. Cold December air rushed in when she pushed through the door, carrying the smell of car exhaust and the first edge of winter. 11 hours and 13 minutes until her evening shift. 11 hours and 13 minutes until she had to come back here. She looked up at the building's exterior, this massive structure of glass and marble and steel that had somehow become both her lifeline and her trap. By working here, she kept food on the table. By working here, she'd made enemies who now held her future in their hands. The evening shift came at 9 o'clock. Aria returned because not returning meant not being paid, and not being paid meant being further behind. She moved through her assigned rooms like a ghost, quiet and faithful and invisible, like a shadow that refused to leave. By 1:58 in the morning, she was retrieving her coat from the basement storage room. The fluorescent lights hummed above her like dying insects. The room smelled like cleaning chemicals and something else. Something that made her skin contract. Douglas Hale was waiting for her. This time he did not speak. His face had changed. The predatory smile was gone, replaced by something darker. Something she'd seen before in the eyes of men who had been rejected and were no longer interested in charm. "You made a mistake," he said. His hand moved toward her throat. Aria did not process what happened next as a sequence of moments. Instead, it became a fragment of violence condensed into seconds. His hand closing around her neck. Her vision blooming with black spots. The survival instinct that lived in her spine, that ancient animal thing that had kept her alive through childhood and through years of being nobody, it suddenly woke up and took over. She brought her knee up. He grunted in pain, his grip loosening. She twisted and grabbed the metal cart beside her, hurling it sideways. His arm came around, and his fist connected with the side of her face, and she saw stars, actual stars, the kind you only see when your head explodes with impact. But her coat was on the rack next to his shoulder. She grabbed it. She did not think about fighting. She thought about Emma. 3 states away. 7 years old. Waiting for a mother who kept promising to come home. She ran. The service exit burst open, and Aria plunged into the December night. The blizzard was already 3 hours into its fury. Wind cut across the parking lot in waves, carrying snow that fell so thickly she could barely see 10 feet ahead. The cold hit her like a wall, stealing the breath from her lungs. She ran. She had no phone. Had dropped it in the storage room, probably under the cart. She had no car. Repossessed 3 weeks ago when she missed 2 payments. She had no plan. She had only $34 and a thin coat and a direction to weigh. The city streets became a blur of white and darkness. No taxis would stop. No one emerged from the buildings. The world had narrowed to the sound of wind and the rhythm of her feet and the burning in her lungs. She ran until her legs began to fail. She ran until the cold had moved past pain and into numbness. She ran until she saw a gate. Wrought iron. Ornate. Leading somewhere up a long private drive that disappeared into darkness and falling snow. What she did not know was that this gate belonged to a man who had been staring at betrayal for 23 days straight. A man whose own blood had sold him out. A man who was sitting alone in a study on the second floor of the mansion beyond that gate, nursing whiskey and the kind of rage that burns cold, waiting for nightfall so he could order the execution of the brother who had failed him. What she did not know was that the security cameras mounted on the fence had captured something hours earlier. Something that would matter far more than she could ever understand. She only knew that her body was failing. She only knew that the cold was pulling her down like hands dragging her into water. She only knew that she needed shelter. She collapsed at the gate. The marble floor rushed up to meet her. And somewhere in the darkness above, a man looked at a security monitor and saw her. Giovanni Valenti stands at the floor-to-ceiling window of his study, watching snow fall like ash onto the iron gates below. The clock reads 3:15 a.m. The whiskey in his crystal tumbler has been untouched for 2 hours. His phone rests on the mahogany desk, screen dark, carrying no messages worth reading anymore. 23 days ago his own brother Marco, his blood, his family, sold him to the Giordano crew. 23 days of sleepless nights, of decisions no man should have to make, of choosing between mercy and survival. Marco is gone now. The family is fractured like a bone that never properly healed. The study is silent except for the hum of the heating system and the distant percussion of wind against glass. Giovanni is 6'2", dressed in a tailored black suit that costs more than most people's cars, his dark hair silvered at the temples, his eyes the color of a storm sky, penetrating, unforgiving, unchanged by the horrors he has orchestrated and survived. A scar runs from his left eye to his cheekbone, a reminder of a warehouse fire when he was 22. He wears a gold Patek Philippe watch, a silver ring on each hand, and the bearing of someone who has command absolute over everyone he encounters. But tonight his mother is dying upstairs, and he cannot stop it. He heard her call out 20 minutes ago. A sound that pulled him from his chair before thought could interrupt. Elena Valenti, 73 years old, the only person in this city who still has power over him. He sent Sergio to check on her. Sergio reported back, chest pain, shortness of breath, she is resting now, probably nothing serious, probably just stress. Giovanni did not believe him. Stress does not make a woman clutch her chest like that. Stress does not steal the color from her face. The phone buzzes. Sergio, East Corridor Conference Room, 3:41 a.m. The emergency meeting. The thing that cannot wait, that is always more important than his own exhaustion, his own fear, his own dying mother upstairs. Giovanni sets down his untouched whiskey and stands. He straightens his tie. He locks the doors to the study. He becomes the boss again, everything human locked away, face rendered unreadable, the transformation taking 3 seconds and costing everything he has. He takes the back staircase down from the second floor. The marble steps are cold beneath his shoes. The mansion is a fortress of silence at this hour, the kind of quiet that comes before something shatters. The east corridor stretches before him, white marble floors, crystal chandeliers dark, the scent of expensive wood polish and old money thick in the still air. At 3:28 a.m., Giovanni rounds the corner. There is a woman on his floor. She is collapsed across the white marble like something broken, beaten, barely breathing. Blood from her split lips spreads slowly across the stone in a thin red line. Her left eye is swollen shut. Handprints darken her throat in purple and black, finger marks, clear and deliberate. She wears a hotel uniform, damp and torn. Her legs are bare from mid-thigh down. Her shoes are missing. She is unconscious, shaking, her breathing shallow and irregular. For 3 full seconds Giovanni does not move. This should be impossible. His security is airtight. Nobody enters this house without his knowledge. Nobody except the woman on his floor. He kneels beside her without hesitation, his expensive suit pressing against marble, and checks for a pulse at her neck. It is there, faint, rapid, the rhythm of someone in shock. He presses the intercom on the wall beside him. His voice does not change, Sergio. Pietro. East Corridor. Now. They arrive in 40 seconds, guns drawn, then free seeing their boss kneeling beside a beaten stranger. In 15 years of working for Giovanni Valenti, neither has ever seen him kneel for anyone. Hospital, Sergio says immediately. He is 41 years old, built like a brick wall, with grey threading his dark hair and a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. Giovanni shakes his head. My mother first. Something's wrong, I heard her call out. Carry this woman to the guest room. Carefully. Then come back up. Pietro, younger by 10 years, dark-eyed and lean, lifts the unconscious woman as if she is made of paper. They place her on the bed in the west guest room, the one with the view of the gate she somehow got through. A private doctor will be here in 20 minutes, Giovanni made the call as they carried her. But that is not what matters right now. The crash comes from upstairs. Not a sound. A crash. Something heavy falling. Something breaking. All three men sprint up the marble staircase. Giovanni's mother's bedroom door is open. Elena Valenti lies on the Persian rug beside her bed, clutching her chest, her face the color of old paper. She is not breathing. For the first time in 15 years, Sergio sees his boss's control crack completely. Terror steals every word from Giovanni's throat. He has lived through wars. He has ordered executions. He has survived assassination attempts and betrayals that would have destroyed ordinary men. But watching his mother die steals his breath in a way that bullets never have. Call 911, he manages. Boss, Sergio starts. Now. Behind them, a weak voice cuts through the chaos, move. A woman leans against the doorframe, barely upright, one eye nearly swollen shut. The same woman they carried to the guest room minutes ago. She is dripping wet, covered in blood, but her eyes are clear and focused in a way that overrides everything else. I'm a nurse, she says. Move now. She drops beside Elena without waiting for permission, checking pulse, finding nothing, immediately beginning compressions. Her hands are steady. Her voice counts aloud in a rhythm that seems to slow time itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Giovanni watches from his knees. Sergio and Pietro are motionless. This beaten woman, this stranger who collapsed on his marble floor, is trying to save the life of the only person who matters. 90 seconds stretch like eternity. Elena gasps. Coughs. Gasps again. Her eyes flutter open. She's breathing, the woman says. She needs a hospital. Call 911 now. Tell them severe cardiac event. Tell them she's conscious. Tell them to hurry. Giovanni stands and does what his brain commands without thought. He takes the woman's hand. His hand, the hand that has ordered men executed, that has built an empire on blood and loyalty codes, trembles slightly against her palm. You saved her, he says. The woman sways, nearly collapses. Giovanni catches her before she can fall, and for a moment they are suspended together, the most powerful man in Boston and a woman in a torn hotel uniform, both of them barely standing, both of them bound now by something neither can explain. Now we save you, he says. The sirens arrive at 4:17 a.m. Elena is loaded into an ambulance, conscious, stable, her heart rhythm restored. The private doctor examines her one more time and nods, she will survive this. The paramedics do not question why a woman is being treated at a mansion, why there are armed men standing in the hallway, why the man kneeling beside her wears an expression of raw fear that contradicts everything about him. By 5:16 a.m., the blizzard still rages, and everyone has moved. Elena is upstairs in her bedroom with a nurse monitoring her vital signs. The woman, Aria, her name is Aria Voss, is in the guest room with an IV in her arm, antibiotics for the split lip, ice pack pressed against her swollen eye. Giovanni sits in the chair beside her bed for the first time in 15 years. Sergio has seen him keep vigil like this. The boss does not keep vigil. The boss does not wait. The boss commands and others obey. But tonight Giovanni Valenti sits in darkness and watches a stranger breathe. When Aria wakes, groggy and confused, she does not recognize him at first. Her good eye opens slowly, and confusion floods her face. Where am I? Giovanni's voice is quiet, steady, the opposite of everything his men know him to be. My home. You collapsed. Then you saved my mother's life. She tries to sit up, winces, her hand moving to her ribs. I need to go. I need to get to my daughter. The blizzard sealed every road in Boston. Nobody's going anywhere until tomorrow. She looks at him properly for the first time, the expensive suit, the bearing, the scar, the gold watch that costs more than her annual salary. Recognition clicks in her eyes. You're Giovanni Valenti. And you're the woman who had every reason to run from my house but instead saved the person I love most in this world. He pauses. Tell me what happened to you. The story spills out. The hotel job. The custody battle. Emma, her daughter, 7 years old, caught between Aria's love and her ex-husband's parents' unlimited wealth. The lawyer's deadline, $125,000 in 2 weeks or Emma goes to them permanently. She has $34 to her name. She has been saving for 4 years and it is not enough. It will never be enough. Douglas Hale, the operations manager, has been stealing tips from housekeeping staff for months. Forcing unpaid overtime. Threatening to fire anyone who reports it. Tonight he cornered her in the storage room. Tonight he made it clear that her refusal of his advances was going to cost her everything. His name. Giovanni's expression does not change, but his hands curl into fists. Douglas Hale. And the woman who profits from this. Diana Whitfield. She owns the hotel. She owns restaurants too. She's wealthy, connected, untouchable. Giovanni stands and walks to the window. Snow falls like a curse he cannot lift. When he turns back, something has shifted behind his eyes, something cold and dangerous stirring in his chest. Nobody is untouchable, he says. What is your daughter's name? Emma. She's 7. Aria reaches for her phone with trembling hands, pulls up a photo of a little girl with dark curls and a missing front tooth, her smile bright enough to burn. I have a picture. Giovanni looks at the photograph and something in his expression softens in a way his men have never witnessed in 15 years of service. In that moment he is not the boss. He is a man who understands what it is to love a child more than life itself. My mother had a heart attack tonight because the stress of my brother's betrayal has been killing her slowly for weeks, he says quietly. She should have died on that floor. You gave her back to me. He meets Aria's eyes. So I'm going to give you back your daughter. I can't accept. You already saved my family. But what Aria did not know was that Giovanni had already sent Pietro to pull every security recording from the Grand Harbor Hotel, every financial record from Diana Whitfield's businesses, and made one phone call to an FBI contact who owed him favors he had been saving for years. The police warrant sits on the nightstand like a blade through her heart. Aria Voss stares at the document, her name typed in official letters, Aria Voss, theft, $15,000, and the room tilts sideways. Douglas Hale's handwriting is nowhere on this paper. Diana Whitfield's lawyers made sure of that. The accusation floats perfectly clean, perfectly damaging, perfectly untraceable. She's framing me, Aria whispers, her voice breaking like old glass. Nobody will believe a poor waitress over Diana Whitfield. She owns half the city. I'm nobody. I'll go to prison. Emma will go to her grandparents and she'll grow up thinking I abandoned her. The November rain hammers against the window, mixing with snow, creating a grey slush that runs down the glass like tears the sky refuses to keep. Aria walks to the dresser and pulls out a memory box from beneath it, the one Giovanni's security team retrieved from her hotel locker during the chaos. Inside, wrapped in faded tissue paper, are Emma's first shoes. Impossibly small. Pink. The hospital bracelet still attached to the left one, the date of her daughter's birth written in blue ink. She was 22 years old when Emma was born. She held those tiny feet in her palm and promised her daughter a better life. A safer life. A life that mattered. She had failed at every promise. Aria sinks onto the bed, the shoes pressed against her chest like a talisman that no longer works. 2 weeks until the custody hearing. If she's arrested, if the charges stick even for a moment, the judge will see a criminal. The judge will see someone unfit. Her parents will take Emma, and Aria will spend 7 years fighting through courts while her daughter forgets the sound of her voice. The split in Aria's lip throbs. Her throat still aches from Hale's hands. One eye swells purple and yellow. She looks like defeat. She looks broken. She looks like a woman the world has finally won against. But then she sees the photograph on the dresser, Giovanni as a teenager, standing beside an older boy who shares his dark eyes. His brother. The one who sold family secrets for money. Even the most powerful man in Boston knows what betrayal tastes like. Even he knows what it means to love someone who destroys you. Aria sets the shoes down carefully. She stands. She walks to the mirror and meets her own ruined reflection. Emma, she says softly, her voice steady now. I'm fighting for Emma. Diana can arrest me, sue me, destroy me. But she has to go through Emma first. At 2:13 in the afternoon, 12 men in tactical black move like ghosts through downtown Boston. The black SUVs surround the Grand Harbor Hotel with the precision of a military operation. The FBI raid team emerges, Special Agent Morrison leading them, a woman who has spent 8 months assembling the case that will dismantle Diana Whitfield's empire in a single afternoon. Douglas Hale sits in his office reviewing the fake theft documentation, congratulating himself on his brilliance. His door crashes inward. FBI. Hands where I can see them. The voice is not a question. Hale lurches to his feet, confusion bleeding into terror in 2 seconds. What is this? I'm the victim here. That woman stole. Douglas Hale, you're under arrest for assault, battery, wage theft, extortion, conspiracy to commit fraud, and violation of federal labor codes. Morrison grabs his arm, yanks him forward. The cuffs snap around his wrists with a sound like a cage door closing. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You can't do this. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I work for? His voice rises to a shriek. Diana Whitfield will destroy you. She has lawyers. She has connections. Diana Whitfield is being arrested at her restaurant right now, Morrison says, her voice cold as stone. And we have video footage of you attacking Aria Voss at 1:58 in the morning. Your handprints are on her throat. We have audio of you threatening her. We have 4 years of financial records documenting systematic wage theft from 17 employees. You're finished. Hale's legs give out. 2 agents hold him upright as they drag him through the hotel lobby at 3:02 in the afternoon. His handcuffs gleam under the fluorescent lights. Hotel staff freeze. Guests pull out phones. Someone is recording. Hale is trembling, his face collapsed into terror, his voice reduced to a desperate whine. Please, please, I'll tell you everything. I'll testify against Diana. Please don't do this to me. Please. The footage hits local news within 20 minutes. By 3:08 in the afternoon, FBI agents are walking through the doors of Diana Whitfield's flagship restaurant. She sits in her office, 50 years old, wearing a designer suit that costs more than Aria's annual salary, diamond earrings catching the light. She is reviewing the police report she filed this morning, already planning her next move to ensure Aria Voss never works in Boston again. The knock on her door is soft. Come in, she says, irritated. Special Agent Morrison enters, badge already displayed. Diana Whitfield. Diana looks up, her expression unchanged. I'm in a meeting. Make an appointment with my assistant. FBI. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, wage theft, witness intimidation, and filing a false police report. Morrison's voice carries the weight of an executioner reading a death sentence. Diana's composure is a mask she has worn for decades, and it does not crack immediately. You're making a mistake. I have lawyers. Very expensive lawyers. You will regret this. Your restaurant manager is already in custody. He's cooperating. Your financial records have been subpoenaed. The false theft report you filed this morning against Aria Voss constitutes federal witness intimidation. Stand up and put your hands behind your back. For the first time in 30 years, Diana Whitfield's control splinters. Her face flushes red. Her voice rises. That woman is nothing. A lying waitress. You believe her over me? Over someone with my standing, my connections, my... We believe the security footage. We believe for years of financial evidence. We believe 17 workers ready to testify. Morrison snaps the cuffs around Diana's wrists. You're done, Ms. Whitfield. They walk her through the dining room at 3:24 in the afternoon. The lunch crowd goes silent. Forks lower. Conversation stop. News helicopters circle overhead. Cameras flash like lightning. Diana Whitfield's public destruction is broadcast across every Boston news channel within the hour. She is led into a federal vehicle, her face finally showing something real, the blank shock of someone who believed she was untouchable. She was wrong. Giovanni watches the news coverage from his study, Aria standing beside him, hardly believing the images on screen. The footage of Hale being transferred to federal detention. The mugshot of Diana Whitfield. The news anchor speaking their names like a prayer. The investigation centers on whistleblower Aria Voss, whose testimony and security footage evidence provided the foundation for federal charges against multiple individuals in an organized wage theft and witness intimidation operation. Giovanni turns to her. His voice is quiet, steady, carved from something older than anger. Death would have been too quick for people like them. Death would be merciful. But 40 years in federal prison? That's justice. Aria cannot move. Cannot breathe. Cannot process the enormity of what has happened. She watches her enemies in handcuffs, watches their empires collapse, watches the world shift from a place where Diana and Hale wielded absolute power to a place where they have nothing. Your name is cleared, Giovanni says. The theft charges are dropped. Diana's assets are frozen. Her lawyers can't touch you. But what Giovanni does not tell her, not yet, is the phone call he made 3 hours earlier. The one that will solve the problem that matters infinitely more than revenge. The one that changes everything about what happens next. Outside, the rain begins to thin. Behind the grey clouds, something lighter breaks through. The sky, after all, has a way of clearing itself. And sometimes miracles come from the most unexpected places. The morning light filters through frost-covered windows, pale and thin, when Aria's phone rings at 8:16 a.m. She stands in the kitchen of Giovanni's mansion, her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that still steams, and stares at the screen. Unknown number. Her heart stops. Unknown numbers have meant nothing but bad news for the past 6 months, eviction notices, collection agencies, lawyers threatening custody hearings that would tear Emma from her arms forever. She answers. Aria Voss. A woman's voice, professional, shocked. This is Sarah Chen from the Family Law Office. I'm calling about your custody case. The mug slips from Aria's fingers. It shatters against the marble floor like a bell made of glass. Your case has been, the situation has changed dramatically. I don't even know how to explain this because I've never seen anything like it in 12 years of practice. Sarah's voice trembles. Your legal fees, all $125,000, were paid in full this morning by an anonymous trust. Every penny. And Ms. Voss, the Peterson family, your ex-husband's parents, they've withdrawn their custody petition. Completely. Their attorney called me 20 minutes ago stating they're no longer pursuing guardianship of Emma. Aria cannot breathe. The kitchen tilts. Is this real? She whispers. The payments are real. The withdrawal is real. But they won't explain why. Their lawyer just said they've reconsidered their position and are no longer interested in pursuing custody arrangements. The hearing scheduled for next Friday is cancelled. Emma remains in your full custody with no contested claims. The phone drops. Aria's legs give way and she slides down the cabinet, her body shaking, sobs rising from a place so deep and raw that she doesn't recognize the sound as coming from herself. Relief. Disbelief. Gratitude so overwhelming it feels like drowning. Elena appears in the doorway moments later, drawn by the noise. She moves to Aria without hesitation, wraps her arms around this young woman who walked into their lives covered in bruises and fear, and holds her while she breaks apart. My son makes things happen when he decides something matters, Elena whispers into her hair. At 10:15 a.m., Aria sits across from Giovanni in his study. The room is all leather and dark wood, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston's skyline, and Giovanni stands at the glass with his back to her, silhouette sharp against the grey sky. You paid the legal fees, Aria says. Not a question. A fact she still cannot fully comprehend. You made them drop the case. I can't. I don't have words. Giovanni turns. His eyes are darker than she's ever seen them, like a storm condensing into something solid. You saved my mother's life, he says, his voice deep and measured like an oath carved into stone. That night, when you found her, when you knew exactly what was happening and your hands were steady while you helped her, while everything in your world was falling apart, you chose to help instead of running. You became the first person in my entire life to see me as human instead of as machinery built for violence. Aria's throat closes. But $125,000. Your ex-husband's parents. Giovanni, they should never have had a case at all, and somehow you made them understand what happens when you try to take someone's child. His voice doesn't change, doesn't harden. It stays exactly the same temperature, which somehow makes it more terrifying. They've been informed that their pension funds are being audited. Their business licenses are being reviewed by state agencies. Nothing illegal, nothing that can be traced back to me, but enough that they understand pursuing custody would be significantly more expensive and painful than withdrawing. He walks toward her. Each step is deliberate, controlled, like a man moving through deep water. You asked me once why I helped you. Why someone like me would spend that kind of money, risk that kind of attention, for someone I'd just met. He sits in the chair across from her, close enough that she can see the silver threading his temples, the faint scar running from his left eye to his cheekbone. Because you saved me on the worst night of my life. Not just my mother, me. You didn't run when you saw the meeting. You didn't flinch when you saw the blood on my ribs. You wrapped my wound with hands that weren't shaking even though you were terrified, and you looked at me like I wasn't a monster. Like I was just a man who was bleeding. That doesn't make what you've done okay, Aria says quietly. That kind of power, that's justice, he interrupts. Justice that the system wouldn't give you because the system doesn't protect people like you. Douglas Hale is serving 40 years in federal prison. Diana Whitfield is serving 38. 17 workers received settlements totaling $2.3 million. That's not power misused. That's balance restored. He leans forward. The custody case, the legal fees, those are separate. That's not justice for their crimes. That's protection for your daughter. That's me saying you will never spend another night wondering if you'll lose her. You will never lie awake calculating how you're going to afford a lawyer. That debt between us, it's not something you repay in money. It's something you repay by living the life you fought so hard to keep. Aria stands. She walks to the window and looks out at the city sprawling beneath them, at the snow melting from rooftops, at streets finally clearing after the blizzard that brought her to this man, to this mansion, to the edge of a future she doesn't yet understand. What happens now, she asks. Now you pick up Emma from school. She gets out at 3 o'clock. My driver is waiting. You bring her here. You both stay in the guest house until you're ready to find somewhere permanent. And you start working as my mother's private nurse. She's asked for you specifically. She trusts you. And I? He pauses. The silence stretches like something alive. I want to know you. Not as a debt to repay or a person to save. Just as someone who understands what it means to survive darkness and keep choosing to believe in light anyway. She doesn't answer. Some truths are too big for words. At 3:02 p.m., the school doors open and Emma crashes through them like a small hurricane, her dark curls bouncing, her gap-toothed smile bright as a beacon. She screams, "Mama," and runs toward Aria with her whole body, and when she hits her mother's arms, everything else, the fear, the poverty, the bruises, the legal battles, dissolves into irrelevance. Emma's small body is warm and solid and real. Her hair smells like school soap and playground dirt and childhood. Her voice tumbles over itself with the day's stories, math test results, best friend drama, the fact that Joshua Thompson pushed her on the monkey bars. "Why are you crying?" Emma asks, her small hands reaching up to touch Aria's face. "Mama never cries. Because I missed you so much, baby. More than you can even understand." Aria pulls her closer. "And because you're staying with me. We get to stay together. Forever. Nothing's going to change that. I promise." Emma's finger traces the fading bruise around Aria's eye. "What happened to your face?" "Mama had a hard night. But someone very kind helped me. And now everything's going to be okay." The words come out stronger than they feel. The black SUV pulls through Giovanni's gates at 4:15 p.m., and Emma's eyes go impossibly wide. "Mama, is this a castle?" "Something like that, baby." Giovanni and Elena meet them in the foyer. The space is all marble and chandeliers and old money, and Emma hides behind Aria's legs, suddenly shy. Elena kneels down, her movements careful and graceful, until she's at eye level with the girl. "Hello, sweet girl. I'm Elena. Your mama saved my life. Did she tell you that?" Elena's voice is warm like honey, like someone who knows how to speak to children, how to make them feel safe. Emma peeks out. "Mama saves people. She's a nurse. The very best kind of person." Elena extends her hand. "Are you hungry? I made cookies this afternoon. Chocolate chip. Your favorite flavor." Emma looks up at Aria for permission. Aria nods through her tears, and Emma takes Elena's hand, chattering as they walk toward the kitchen. The sound of a child's voice echoing through the mansion, it's something this place has needed for so long. Giovanni watches them go. When he turns back to Aria, his expression has softened into something she doesn't have a name for yet. "You raised a good daughter," he says. "She's everything I have." "No." He steps closer. "Now you have more. A safe place. Resources. People who will protect you both. And when you're ready, a job, if you want it. My mother needs a private nurse. Someone she trusts. Someone she wants in her life." Aria's eyes fill again. "I don't deserve this kindness. You deserve everything. You just never had anyone willing to give it to you. Until now." The moment between them deepens, not quite romance, not yet, but the foundation of something real and unshakable, built on mutual rescue and the kind of understanding that comes from surviving darkness together. Outside, the snow continues to fall, soft and clean and new, covering the evidence of the storm that came before. And somewhere in federal prison, Douglas Hale sits in a cell counting the 40 years stretching ahead of him. Diana Whitfield's assets remain frozen, her empire in ruins, her name now synonymous with cruelty and fraud. Justice came not quick, but thorough. Not as mercy, but as consequence. The rain has stopped. Behind the grey clouds, something lighter breaks through. The sky, after all, has a way of clearing itself. And sometimes miracles come from the most unexpected places. This story teaches us that even in the darkest moments, love finds a way. If you believe that, hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment and tell us how this story made you feel. Thank you for staying with us until the very end.